Hi everybody, Penny here. Welcome to my kitchen. So this week we're going to do good old-fashioned banana bread. And we are using my Nanny Churchill's recipe. And this was the very first book that I started collecting recipes in. As you can see, it's old and falling apart. But in the front cover, I have my Nan Churchill's recipe in her own handwriting, which is really special to me. So here we go. Step number 1, wash your hands. Step number 2, preheat your oven. The recipe calls for 350, but my oven tends to be a little hotter, so I have it at 325. And of course you know your oven better than I do, so but the recipe calls for 350, but you can go up a little bit or you can go down a little bit depending on your oven. So you've seen me grease or butter a pan before, but I've never shown you how to flour a pan. So when you're baking, it's often, especially with something heavy like a banana bread, it's often a really good idea to not only grease or butter, but to flour your pan. So after it's greased, take a little bit of flour, just a tablespoon or so, and pour it in the pan, and then you're going to sift it around until it gets to the bottom. And then you're going to turn it on its side and tap. And you're going to tap. See how it's gone down to the corner? Now you're going to slowly tap to the other corner. And then rotate it again and slowly tap to the next corner. And then slowly to the next one. And down to the final corner. Then you're going to do it over a garbage or over some paper towel like I have done, and give it a good tap to get all the excess out. And there your pan is greased and floured and ready to go. So lay it aside, but don't lay it on top of the stove, because remember, we're preheating our oven and you don't want that butter to melt. Okie dokie. So according to the recipe, in here I have 1 3/4 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I've given it a quick stir so that it combines and is evenly distributed in the recipe. So we'll lay that aside. Then you need 3 mashed bananas. Now you want your bananas, you want the skin to look something like that, okay? Don't use green or yellow bananas, simply because they're still too hard and they haven't developed enough moisture or sugars to make your banana bread nice and moist. But if it's gone all the way to black and there's mold, that's too far. So you want it nice and brown, or full of brown spots at the very least. So mash 3 bananas really well, so it's almost like baby food. And you're going to need 2 eggs, which I have in the bowl, and you want to slightly beat them. You're not really looking to add a lot of air, so you just want to beat them up a little bit so they get evenly distributed in our batter. So lay that aside. And then we have 1/3 cup of butter. Now my butter was in the fridge, so I put it in the microwave for like 25 seconds so it would go a little softer. But if you have room temperature butter, that's even better. So to our soft butter, we're going to add 2/3 cup of sugar. And we're going to get that all nice and creamy. Beat that around a little bit. Now I'm using a whisk because I said my butter was melted. However, a wooden spoon would do a really good job. So now I'm going to add in the eggs. Give that a really good whisk as well till it's all nice and creamy and there's no lumps. There we go. That doesn't take too long at all. then we're going to add our bananas. Now, it says on the recipe, add flour and bananas alternately. What that means is you add a little bit of flour, then a little bit of banana. A little bit of flour and a little bit of banana until you have it all stirred in. And you stir each time. But what I like to do is add all my bananas now and then fold in my flour, because I find that doesn't develop the gluten in the flour as much, and you have a softer banana bread. So I'm just going to whisk in all that banana. There we go. And then I'm going to add the dry ingredients, the flour, the baking powder, the soda, and the salt, all at once. And I'm going to switch to a spatula. Now I'm going to fold. Folding and stirring are two very different things. Stirring is, everyone knows how to stir. You go around a circle until everything's incorporated. But what happens when you're doing it fast like that, like I said, it develops the gluten. So what we're going to do is fold. And when you're folding, you go from the outside in, underneath, outside in, and underneath, outside in. Can everyone see? I hope you can all see. It does take a little bit longer, but it is much gentler on the batter, and you will get a softer banana bread because of it. So there you go. Make sure you get underneath so that you don't miss any of the flour. There we go. And you only do this until it's just all combined. You don't want to over mix your batter. And there you go. See? So now we're going to put it in our pan. And Barry's watching because he wants the bowl, but I'm using a spatula, so he's not going to get very much. There we go. Here we are. Now I'm just going to flatten that out just a little bit. Careful not to touch the sides so you don't rub off the grease and the flour. So we'll leave that for Barry. Now, then what you want to do, and this will be a bit loud, is just pat it, drop it on your counter a couple of times. And what that does with any baking good is gets the air bubbles, if there are any, so you don't end up with holes in your cake or in your banana bread. So this is going in the oven for 60 to 70 minutes. So at 60 minutes, test it with a toothpick. If it comes out clean, then your banana bread is done. When it comes out of the oven, leave it in the pan for 10, even 15 minutes, just to let it cool in the pan, and it's not going to fall apart then when you flip it out onto a cooling rack. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and I'll see you in about 60 to 70 minutes. Thank you. Hi everybody, it's Penny back. Banana bread's ready. So it was in the oven for 60 minutes, and then I let it sit for 15. So before you try and turn it out onto a cooling rack, you can give it a little bounce and see. I don't know if you can hear that. You can hear it that it's not stuck to the pan, which is always good news. So you turn it out and let it cool. And there is my Nan Churchill's original recipe banana bread. It was the very, very first thing that I ever learned how to bake. She taught me herself, and it really, really means a lot to me. So I hope you enjoy it. Bye!